G'day everyone, we're just about ready to do the clutch installation on the Suzuki Stockman, and obviously use the pressure plate, clutch plate, and I'm just going to do a short video on the procedure I normally do when I grease up the spline on the gearbox and the spline and the clutch plate, and a couple of other tricks on the easiest way is just to get everything lined up right. We've just fitted a new throw out bearing and we've greased all the pivot points. If you don't grease all these pivot points, you can end up with a squawky clutch. That means every time you push the clutch in and out, it's going to be creaking and groaning and squeaking and carrying on. And I've just got the long screwdriver in. I'll just point to the places where we normally grease. We normally grease the inside of the carrier. This one, the bearing and the carrier, is a one-piece setup. They have a groove in there, so make sure that groove is full of grease. Then I grease in here behind the throw-out bearing, where the fork pushes on the bearing. There. Then this shaft that goes through the top of the bell housing, grease up in there, and over here where the spring is. It's a little bit difficult to get this to fit onto there. You've got to compress this. This shaft has got to come sideways enough to compress that spring. And there's a little tiny knob down there that goes in a slot. It's only on one side of the throw-out bearing, but anyway, we've got all that set up. Everything's greased up. Bit of grease behind on the snout of the gearbox. Bit of grease there as well. So that part's pretty well ready to go back together. Now the next step's going to be, we're going to use this Exceedi grease, which I've never used before, but obviously it's made to suit this application. So we've already cleaned up the spline on the front shaft and the gearbox. Actually, if you can get in and really scrape it out, or if you have the gearbox a little bit lower, you can get in there with some petrol or a brake clean it up with a toothbrush or something so it's really clean. You can double check, run a little screwdriver around in there just to make sure that it hasn't got any old hard grease or filings or anything in there from the worn out clutch. So we're just going to put this onto here, like so. And we're going to come down here and we're going to brush that on to this. This is supposed to be the recommended stuff. Then we turn that around a bit. I'll get a bit more to put on there. Just got to watch out we don't use too much of this. Turn that around a bit more. Big for the job. And just run through the other way. Right, and the next trick is, just give that a run on there. Give that a run backwards and forwards. Try a couple of different spots. And we're going to just come here and wipe off the excess off that edge there, because we don't want it spraying out onto the pressure plate. Do the other side. We've had the flywheel machined, and we put a new spigot bearing in here, which is unusual because it actually goes into the flywheel. It doesn't go into the back of the crankshaft like most conventional motors. But you can see this here has been machined, and the bolts have been tensioned up with a torque wrench, so we know they're at the right temperature. The next procedure is we use methylated spirits. That seems to be the thing that most people will use. And we go around here, even though this is brand new, it looks nice and shiny. We go around here and we give that a good wipe in case there's any form of grease or anything like that on there. Get that nice and dry and clean. You can see even that there's still a bit of junk on the rag. Then we come over here and we do the next part, which is where the clutch plate is going to run in the flywheel. Where the machine marks are. Make sure that's right. Might run around and do them again. Make sure we've got them right. They look clean, but it goes to show there's still more stuff on there. Right, so the next procedure is to set this up with 99% of clutch plates. the flat face goes towards the front and the piece that sticks out goes towards the rear. The reason, if you have that around the wrong way, that part will hit on those bolts to hold the flywheel on. So that bit always goes backwards. That bit goes forwards, that flat bit. You see it's nice and flat. So we're going to put that on there like that. That's the way that's going to go on. So we're getting close. Then we're going to put this into here. We've already greased it up. We come over here and get our 3 bolts. And you can see that we've got these dowels here. Before I go to there, what we're going to do is, if you look down on the edge, you'll see that the ring on the pressure plate is slightly bigger than the clutch plate. All around it, can you see the ring? The ring on the pressure plate is slightly bigger. Now the trick is, there's 3 places you can feel in with your fingers to feel that ledge between that and that. All you got to do is just match that up in the 3 places, and that clutch plate will be dead center and it will work. You'll put it together. You'll see there, there's the ring, and the clutch plate's a bit smaller. You can see that there. It's pretty simple. So and there's just the 3 places, 1, 2, 3, that you can feel in around the edge. To feel that lip, you'll be able to feel that lip, and the lip's got to feel the same all the way, and that will center the clutch plate. Right then, now to put this on the dowels, just go like so. It's going to be tight because the dowels have been pulled out and put back in. You've just got a small grip on that. No, bolt came back out. Got another go at it. And I'll tighten up a little bit. We'll go for our next bolt, which will be this one here. Next one, which will be down in here. We need 3 of them to start with. Now at this stage we can still move our clutch plate around in there. So you just get a screwdriver that'll fit into the back of the spigot bearing, so you can see how nice and free that is. So the next thing we do is we just tighten this up by hand. Try and keep it even in here. If you can look in this way, at this gap, you try and keep that gap about the same all the way around as you're tightening it up. So there's our bolt down here, the other one's here. I'm going to move that up pretty close to where I'm going to end up. I want to make it so I can only just move that clutch plate around a little bit. Right, there we are there. Now we can, if you look in the back here, you'll see that I can actually move that clutch plate around. Probably not a lot, I could probably back it off a little bit. It's a little bit hard to move. Just back these bolts off slightly. Right, you can see the clutch plate can't fall down, but I can move it around pretty well wherever I want it. So then we just feel in these few spots. I know it's got to go that way a bit, maybe that way a little bit, maybe down a little bit. So I'm just feeling these edges now, and I reckon that's maybe that way a whisker. It feels about the same. Now if you look in here, you'll be able to see see how the clutch plate here, the darker part, is slightly smaller than the ring on the pressure plate. And that's the trick. To get your fingers, run your fingers back that way, and you'll feel that lip. I'll turn it round. If you look in here, you'll see the same thing. Got a lip in there. Got the lip right there. And we go around to the next. There's 3 areas you can look into. You can feel there, much the same all the way around. So I reckon that will work. Then all we do then is we've just got to tighten this up we've got that snug. We've already greased the spline on the clutch plate, and we'll just get our other bolts and put in here and tension those up, and it's as simple as that. And as far as clutches go, another little thing to look for, I haven't got that tight, but when that's tightened up, the fingers will go back flat. Bring your pressure plate, bring your clutch plate, and you'll find if you pull a gearbox out of something and you see the fingers out like this, that obviously that's not done up, there's still a gap there. But if you see the fingers facing backwards like that, back this way, the clutch plate will be pretty well worn out. And if you pull it, there again, you pull the gearbox out or pull a motor out and you see it flat, that means the clutch plate and everything will probably be in pretty good condition. That's a quick, easy way just to diagnose whether the clutch plate is going to be worn out or whether the whole assembly is probably pretty good. Yeah, it's a simple idea, and you don't have to have a dummy shaft to rig it up. Another trick you can do, if you have a piece of rod or something that fits fairly neat in the back of the spigot bearing, and if you don't feel comfortable doing it that way, you can just get masking tape. Just build this up as masking tape until it's about as fat as my thumb, and just put that into the back of the spigot bearing, and then just look here to see if your centre, you've got to move the clutch plate or that around. Just have a look I had so it's not too tight. Too loose is no good because your plate will keep falling to the bottom. Too tight's no good, you won't be able to move it. So it's got to be just so you can move it a bit. That's about it.